What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Ant-Man from 2015, the first time we get to see Ant-Man. And honestly, I love how this movie starts out, right? It starts in 1989, a quick little scene where they establish an older Howard Stark, an older Peggy Carter, younger than how we see him in this movie, but a younger Hank Pym, and he's starting the SHIELD program, right? And he's one of the founders of SHIELD. But he's also the genius that came up with the Pym particle for shrinking things and stuff like that. So this movie does so many things well. I love how they established that, you know, Tony's dad, Cap's girl, and Ant-Man were all in 1989 in SHIELD, right? We don't see Nick Fury, but they very well could have been interacting with a young Nick Fury, I think a couple years later. I think it's 1990 when that happens as Captain Marvel, right? So I love how they tie things into the Marvel universe. But this movie, you know, then he goes to jail. You're like, whoa, why is he in jail? He's in a fight. He gets punched in the face. But the ageless Paul Rudd is just perfectly cast, I think, as Scott Lang. And I think Michael Douglas is a wonderful Hank Pym. You know, he doesn't get enough credit because he's a great dramatic actor, but he doesn't get enough credit for his comedy. I think he's hilarious in this movie. He punches that dude in the opening scene, and Howard Stark looks at him and goes, "Don't look at me, you said it." And he's like, he just kicked your ass full size. You want to know what it's like when you can't see him coming? You know, like, some great line delivery. Obviously, my favorite character in this movie is Luis, right? Michael Pena is so funny. Even T.I., right? Like, T.I. I know is problematic nowadays, but music I still like. And in this movie, the relationship between Luis, T.I., and David Dastmalchian's character, they're hilarious, you know? Like, I love the three of them and how they're ex-cons and ex-con security, right? Like, even in the second movie I really liked them. In the third movie, in Quantumania, that was really the missing piece, right? I know David Dastmalchian played Zeb, the guy that drank the ooze, you know, in Quantumania, but that movie, I think, really was missing Michael Pena, no? Like, Luis was one of the cornerstones of this little universe here, and he's hilarious. But what this movie really does well is, you know, showing that he's a thief, burglar type guy, that was showing why he was in prison, but he's also the guy, right? Like that whole sequence where he breaks into this giant safe, and remember what happened to the Titanic? Doesn't do well against ice when it's cold, you know? So he breaks open the thing, and then he walks in, and it's just this suit. And little do you know, or little do they know, that Hank Pym set this up the whole time. So, like, I really love the little details. I love how it sells scale, right? Like, Ant-Man's next to this ant. Like us, we step on ants all the time. We don't even realize it. But when you're Ant-Man and you're super tiny, ants are ginormous, right? So he's flying around on ants. He's running with ants. You know, he's underground in these little ant, like, cave tunnel systems. Like, and they pretty much, you know, if you've ever seen, like, an ant farm, how they do that, it's wonderful. He goes to an Avengers compound, fights an Avenger, right? So he ties in now to the rest of the Avengers with Sam Wilson, right? Like Falcon before he becomes Captain America. Darren Cross is before he becomes MODOK, is Yellow Jacket. He's a pretty, you know, frightening villain. I mean, he has some of the worst deaths, or you know, I mean, kills. He has some of the most gruesome kills in the MCU. He turns a lamb, but he turns a dude into a pile of goop, you know, and then just, you know, wipes him off the floor, throws him down the toilet. Like, that is brutal, right? Like, there's no blood or anything, but you just see a pile of goo. This man just got turned into a pile of goo. Oh, like, god damn it. Like, that's one of the worst ways to go, probably. Like, just in an instant, all of a sudden, you're just shrunk into a goop. Just, ugh. Overall, you know, like, where they're fighting on this little train set, and they're both shrunk down, and you just see, like, his daughter Cassie's looking around like, Dad, are you winning? I can't tell. And all of a sudden, he throws the blue disc to make things grow. One hits an ant. You have this oversized ant, and then one hits Thomas the Tank Engine. Now it's a full-size train, falls out of the window. Like, oh, man. At first, you don't like Paxton, the cop, but Bobby Calavani? I'm saying the last name right. Bobby Cavanaugh? Something like that. But that actor is great in the role, and he ends up getting better and better through the movies. But I really do like that actor. He's quite talented himself. I think this might be my favorite movie with Evangeline Lilly as Hope. In the third movie, she doesn't quite do it for me. I think she's pretty great in the second one, too. But this movie then teases her becoming the Wasp at the end. You know, and then you get Michelle Pfeiffer in the second one, too. That's great casting as Janet Van Dyne. I'm somebody that didn't hate Quantumania quite as much as everyone else. But this first one, I really liked this movie. I liked what it did. I liked how it tied things in. You know, you get the post-credit where you see Hank talking to Hope and giving her the Wasp thing. But then you get the end credit at the very end is the tease for future movies, right? Like, this is what Marvel's missing right now, is the post-credit scenes. Like, this is what makes Marvel movies amazing. Teasing where we're going to see the character next. And we don't necessarily see Ant-Man in the post-credit scene. You see Bucky with his arm in a vice, and we at this point, I don't even think saw a Civil War trailer or anything like that. So he has his arm in a vice, and you know, Cap's like, I think we need help, and Sam goes, I think I know a guy, and that makes perfect sense because we just saw Sam in this movie, and at the end of the movie going, you know, where Luis is talking shit. So she told me to tell you, to tell him, to tell you that he's looking for you. And well, we got a guy that swings, we got a guy that climbs up walls. You got to be more specific. I'm looking for a guy that shrinks, right? Like, it's like, oh, he's looking for him, shit, like, and, you know, it ties into Civil War perfectly, and then it cuts off, I think I know a guy, cuts off Ant-Man will return, you know, it doesn't say necessarily in Civil War, but you get like, oh shit, he's gonna be back, and then Civil War brings up now another, not necessarily Avengers level team up, but it still has a pretty great team up where you're pitting Team Iron Man versus Team Cap, like, it wasn't the comic books, but I still really enjoy those movies. It gives us the first time we see Black Panther, the first time we see Spider-Man with Tom Holland. Like, that movie does a lot. So, comment below, what do you think of this movie? What is your score out of 10? I gave this movie 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's a really solid movie, and I enjoy watching it and rewatching it. You know, and I think that's just a really solid story. About an 8 out of 10. And for me, it's good shit, you know. I love the cast. I like the story it tells. It's entertaining, you know. It sells scale really well for something that's supposed to be really small. You know, he has to jump through doorways, and when he first tries on the suit and he gets flushed down the water, and he falls through the cracks, like, you really start to feel, okay, what is it like to be this small, and what it could be very dangerous if an army of people were that small, you know. So you want to stop the threat, which is Darren Cross in the Yellow Jacket, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you can follow the story pretty easily. But comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and we'll be continuing the Marvel movie rewatch with Deadpool's up next, but Captain America Civil War, where we'll see our buddy Scott Lang back as Ant-Man. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.